Darkest Minds is a new sci-fi young adult fiction movie that is based off of the Darkest Minds book, which was written by Alexandra Brackens. No, I have not read the book, but I'm pretty sure you already knew that. The movie actually came out last weekend. I just didn't have the time to review it last weekend, and now I'm reviewing it a weekend late, you know, just in case there are any stragglers out there who are like, yeah, I really want to see The Darkest Mind today. The film was directed by Jennifer Nelson, and it stars Amanda Steinberg and Mandy Moore, among other people. So The Darkest Minds takes place in a somewhat futuristic world where there's this deadly virus that is wiping out all the children of the world's population. No one seems to know much about where this virus came from or how to stop it, but I'm pretty sure it kills like 90% of the children population. But then the other 10% develop these really weird superpowers. Every child gets different superpowers, and these superpowers are broken down into different categories and color codes. If you're green, that means you have superhuman intelligence. If you're blue, you have some form of telekinesis. If you're orange, you're basically a super telepath. And if you're red, you basically have fire abilities. The story follows this young girl named Ruby who gets separated from her parents after some of these powers start manifesting in her. The rest of the movie, she finds herself on the run, and she teams up with this other group of kids who also have superpowers, and she has to try to figure out a way to get back to her old life while also escaping from some pretty dangerous people that want them because of the superpowers. Like I said in my last review, life was kicking my ass pretty much from last weekend up until now, and I just haven't had the time. But I'm here to talk about The Darkest Minds because there is something to talk about here. Something. As far as the young adult fiction genre is concerned, I feel like over the years, ever since Hunger Games left and then Maze Runner ended this year, I feel like the genre has been slowly dying. I feel like they've been milking that well dry. It's not to say that there aren't still some likable things about this movie. For starters, the main chick in the movie, Amanda Steinberg, I think is her name, she was actually pretty damn good. She showed a little bit more emotional range than I would have thought that she would be able to show, and she didn't blow me away or anything, but she's the one thing that I looked at in the movie and I was like, you know what? Yeah, you're impressing me. It took me a second to recognize her though, because I remember watching this movie and I was looking at her and I was like, holy shit, where do I know this chick from? And then it dawned on me, holy shit, that's the little girl from Hunger Games. Yeah, you guys remember the first Hunger Games when Katniss befriended that little black girl named Rue, I think her name was, and then she died in the movie, and then Katniss spent like, I don't know, 3 months crying about it in a forest. Yeah, it's the same girl. She's grown now. She's like 19 or 20 years old, and I'm just like, holy shit, I am getting old. Her being in this movie and her actually doing a good job in this movie is actually a sobering reminder that every day I get older and every day I inch a little bit closer to death. It's depressing when you think about it like that, but then it just reminds me of why I live every day to the fullest, or at least I try to. There's a few moments where I was impressed with the visual effects for the powers, the telekinesis and electricity and the fire and all that stuff. A couple of good action sequences in this film that follow up on that premise and deliver something exciting. There is a really exciting car chase that I like in the movie where these kids are trying to escape from people, and I thought that scene was actually pretty badass. Beyond that, though, I was bored for pretty much the majority of this entire fucking movie. The other characters in the movie, I mean, they're pretty much the cliche genre trope characters that you've seen 1,000 times before. Every other character in this movie, they're playing the exact character that you already know that they're playing because you've seen this character thousands of times. I mean, you have the handsome guy who's pretty much just only in the movie to be the love interest. The quirky kid, the black kid in this case, who he's kind of like the comic relief of the movie. You have the cute little adorable character that is only in the movie because you need somebody cute and adorable that you can like. Villains are the same type of villains that you've seen in other movies, and I guess that's the bigger issue with the movie as a whole. I don't want to use the word derivative because I feel like the word derivative gets used a little bit too much, but in the dictionary or whatever, if there's another word that is synonymous with derivative, I'm pretty sure that applies to this movie. There's just nothing fresh or new or exciting that they've done with the genre in this movie. It's the same type of movie. I mean, if you've seen Hunger Games, you've seen this movie. If you've seen Maze Runner, you've seen this movie. If you've seen the Divergent movies, you have seen this movie before. Hell, if you've seen Harry Potter, you've seen this movie before. Granted, the movie is kind of self-aware. It makes a Harry Potter joke in there. Just because you're self-aware doesn't mean that I can't criticize the fact that you're doing nothing that I haven't seen 1,000 times before. Everything that happens in this movie has been done to death in other movies. Better movies than this one. Not to mention that the movie doesn't really seem to follow the rules of its own universe. Once a universe in a movie is established, then you have to follow the rules of that universe, or at least if you're going to bend it and tweak it, you have to make it make sense. Sometimes in this movie, I didn't feel that was the case. I feel like the movie didn't really follow its own rules and didn't really follow its own explanations, to the point that it made me question characters and their motivations and their decisions throughout the movie, because sometimes it didn't make sense with the rules that were established earlier. This movie is not offensively bad or anything. It's not a movie that I was upset walking out of, but it's a movie that's just so forgettable because it is the same exact young adult fiction movie that you have seen seen over and over and over and over again. In the end, it's a bad movie that has some good things about it, so I'm going to give it the guilty pleasure rating of Smallville. Alright guys, that's my review for The Darkest Minds. Stay tuned, I have a shit ton of other reviews to get out to you guys. Please like and subscribe to the Superfan Show, and as always, if you like what you see, tell me how you feel, and stay tuned to hear more from the Man of Steel. Peace!